Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kelly Speaks. I'm today's guest host, William Lindus, Director of Operations for Beyond Indigo Pets. And as you might have noticed, we're doing something just a little bit different today. Before I dive into what that is, though, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, the normal host of this program, Beyond Indigo Pets CEO, Kelly Baltzell.
Hello, Will. It's so nice to have you in front of the camera today.
It's nice being in front of the camera. You know, as we've talked about on the show, I'm always here, but I'm always behind the scenes. And I think only a couple of times I've gotten on camera with you before, whether it be to fill in or we did a fun little talk last week, actually, that was pretty neat. But one of the things that was really interesting to me as we were sort of talking about what type of programming we've done and what type of programming we were going to schedule out, now that we're past the 100th episode and we're sort of looking forward to like, okay, what else can we do with this platform?
Where
where do we go from here? And I've noticed that, you've really used this platform as this means to elevate the experiences and the voices of so many different people within the veterinary industry. And I thought it would be really fun to use this opportunity to really highlight one of the things that you're known for within this industry. And that's just how captivating your public speaking presentations are. So with that in mind, I've got a few questions lined up for you. I want to pick your brain about all things public speaking. And first question I've got for you, can you tell us a bit about your background as a speaker and how you got into it?
Sure. I just think back over time, as anything is, it's like building blocks, like Lego. It's one block next to another block. And pretty soon you are building a house or a Harry Potter castle or, something fun, right? But you just all of a sudden have the castle without the individual blocks. So with the speaking in anywhere, overall, the bigger events are not going to risk themselves on unknown speakers. They want to know just, how good people are. Probably in video, you have your B-roll. They want to see how you interact on the camera, something like that. So I got started speaking, doing webinars on live, doing radio shows, and which was a ton of fun. But I mean, speak in front of 2 people, sure. Speak in front of 500 people, sure. But you have to build the confidence of the people who hire you to speak, and hire can be with dollars or not dollars. It's just,
right.
You got to realize they're not going to risk their reputation unless they can hang their hat on your reputation.
You were just talking about instilling that level of trust with the people that hire you in whatever relationship or whatever way that may happen to mean for that particular platform. And I think as a speaker, you have this immense level of knowledge, any speaker does, about the things that they're speaking about, whatever it happens to be, if it's something for CE, if it's like marketing tips, if it's the best way to operate within some part of the industry. But when you're speaking, you don't have, in most cases, 4 days straight of nonstop talking. You have like a 30-minute or an hour-long block of time. So how do you choose the right topic? How do you distill all of that information into that particular presentation?
That's a good thing to think about. You have to kind of decide on the audience. For my job, when I speak, it's about marketing. In internet marketing, you have to know about your demographic. And our demographic in the veterinary space is most people don't want to do internet marketing. It's very confusing. It changes all the time. Really not that interesting because they didn't go into it themselves. They much rather talk about a cool new surgery or some fun thing that is their passion, right?
Right.
So you kind of have to step back and go, well, who is the audience? And what do they need to learn? And then your job as a speaker is to be that conduit between all the confusing information and distill it down into some simple things that people can take away. Because if they go away confused and overwhelmed, which happens a lot with my presentations, it should be because they're overwhelmed of how much information they absorbed, not how much bounced off of them. So, when I present, they always have takeaways to do right away. And we distill it down into 3 or 4 things. But they're not oh crap, I didn't get this, and why bother? They're going, wow, a whole new world opened up to me. It finally makes sense. So many people have said, Kelly, you're the only person that's explained the why behind marketing. So now I understand why I need to do this. And like anything of opening a whole new door of information, you got to process it and assimilate it. But to be a good speaker, you have to present it in a way for that processing and assimilating to happen.
I think there's something about a really good speaker to me that always comes across as effortless when you're sitting in the audience. But the truth of the matter is that it's not effortless. There's a lot of work that goes into planning that presentation, like all of those kind of unseen hours that happen before you turn on your mic and say the first word. Can you talk a little bit about your process for preparing for presentation? Like, what are some of the things that you like to do to get ready?
Sure. Constantly, number one is educating myself on a daily basis. So in our vertical, in our base of digital marketing, as you well know, it changes every day. Google has just come out and saying in 2019 that they freely admit they made 10 plus changes a day. Now 2020, that's gone through the roof. I mean, They made 10 changes in the first hour in 2020 once March 1st hit, right? Like the emails were flying back and forth, and that's just one platform.
They've probably made 10 changes during our conversation. Yeah.
Exactly. That's just, it's almost like a puzzle piece this year. We're like, okay, we did this, and now we're not here. And to try to catch up on that all in one shot to get ready for a single presentation is not possible for my brain to assimilate. So I like to learn on a daily basis and build it into my base of knowledge so it's mine, right? If it's mine, I don't have to try to memorize it. It's just at my fingertips. So I research and read every day. Our whole team does. That's what we are at Beyond Indigo. We're always reading. We're always exchanging information because there's so much out there. So that's one thing. I tend not to prepare my speeches until time, which is different than other people. And I use internet pages live. I use tabs. So all my presentations are live via the internet because I use real live website pages. I don't do PowerPoint for two reasons. One, PowerPoint only shows a very small portion that can be fit on a slide, and website pages are big. Search pages are big, and they don't all shove themselves into a tiny little space that are readable. Number two, if I was doing PowerPoint, I'd be doing it all the time because, again, going back to the fact that there's so many changes, there's that. And then the third thing I do is I tell a story. So, and I don't mean like, hey, Sally walked into this and bought 5 pieces of that. I mean, the whole presentation's a story. It should all make sense. Like it's a cadence that builds one thing onto another. It goes back to Legos. Really, it's all about Legos.
I like that because it really makes the presentation less about a list of bullet points and it more takes it through. Well, you get to go on the journey. You get to figure out why am I learning this? What am I learning? What did I just learn? And how does that tie back into whatever I'm doing in the real world? And I do like, we have the philosophy here at Beyond Indigo, which I know comes from your speeches, which is live whenever possible, slides as a last resort. And it's because of that, it sort of trains people to, like, I'll just look at the slides later versus like, I want to look at these live examples and see what happens here. But that does bring me to my next question. When we're dealing with live examples, there is always that potential for something to go off rails, right? And this doesn't even have to be for live things. Just whenever you're in front of an audience, something will happen. The mic cuts out, the internet connection is gone. Any number of things could happen. So how do you, when you're doing a presentation, even the best prepared or like the presentation that like the back of your hand, it's gone off rails, maybe you've lost the audience, you've lost your pacing, something. How do you reorient yourself and bring it back?
First of all, you have to be authentic to self. You have to be confident and authentic in who you, actually that's 2 things. When you have to be confident in sense of self and be grounded within sense of self. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to be authentic and call it like it is and not pretend. I mean, a lot of people, especially today when we're so stressed, We can smell bologna sandwiches a mile away. It's just the way that we tend to work. So stop trying to pretend be authentic. So if I see confused, dazed faces in the audience, I just call it. I'm like, okay, everybody raise your hand. How many of you are lost? And if a lot of them raise their hands, I say, okay, where did I leave you? Shout it out. And then we actually backtrack. I stop presenting my speech at that point and start honing in where the audience has been lost. Because the whole objective isn't that this piece of material has to start from stop to finish or it's not good. The whole idea when you speak and teach somebody is to actually learn something. And if they can only get from A to C in your presentation, and that's the block, until you address the block, there's no other learning past that. B through Z isn't going to happen. So work on the block, get that learning absorbed, and everybody will go home feeling empowered versus talked over. So that's one. Internet, if that goes out, a lot of times my website pages are stored locally. So I'll just go through them because they're already stored locally, but I can't go to somebody's particular own hospital website. Two, I also bring a crap ton of technology stuff. I have dongles for every certain thing for my Mac, to the point where everybody's like, wow, you brought your own. That's really impressive. Yep. I have my own little kit. So.
Well, and I know this is 100% true because I've seen your dongle bag. Like, we get to a presentation, we get to a conference, and then Kelly brings out the giant bag of just like every little cord and adapter and plug. And if you need one, you can just say, Kelly, I don't have a thing that adapts my this adapter to this thing. You're like, oh, hold on, I've got two. Grabbing into the bag and going. So, and again, that speaks to the preparedness. I'm sure that a lot of that comes from, you learn that you need those particular cables because at a certain point, maybe you didn't have that cable or you ran into how do I navigate around this? Kind of in that regard, this is kind of like when you're speaking, when you're out on the road doing these types of things, the things that kind of go the most interestingly wrong kind of make for some of the best learning experiences and the best stories. So maybe without putting anyone specific on blast, can you think about any like really fun experiences that you've had on the road that were just sort of like, that's a teachable moment?
Yeah, I was teaching at a veterinary hospital that lost heating. So it's cold, so we were all wearing jackets. That was fun. While the heater was being fixed. But we did it. We all laughed. We all went through it. Again, calling things what it is. Like, we're all cold. Do you still want me to continue? Yep. Okay, the biggest, don't assume, never make assumptions about what somebody else is thinking. Ask them and get their, let them make the choice and honor the choice, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like one where I just still remember because I like living in the cold. I don't personally like being cold. So that one kind of stuck with me because I was cold, right? Like I wasn't wearing Minnesota gear. I was wearing business gear, and business gear is not warm. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, it's just, you kind of have to be prepared for heaters to go out, electricity not working, transportation not coming when it's supposed to, people having just a bad day, and so then we need to laugh.
You mentioned something, and I know we're getting kind of close on time here, but I just want to double back to probably my favorite takeaway from all of this. Just sort of like one of the things that you mentioned earlier really strikes me as like kind of the core of what public speaking even is or what it even means. You mentioned when you're giving a presentation and you're on slide 47 or whatever it is, you're partway through, and you notice that you've lost the audience. Which happens regardless of the audience. That's not a public speaker thing. That is just how it works. Instead of just plowing forward, you stop and find out what their issues were. And to me, that really speaks to public speaking isn't about necessarily you as the speaker or us as the speaker, whoever's doing the speaking. It's about the person that's receiving the knowledge and meeting them where their needs are. And I feel like there's a lot of times when someone raises their hand and says, I'm lost here, they're also revealing to you, this is the part that's important to me and I need you to help me clear it.
And that's so true. And I think good public speakers are just I'm trying to think the right word. They're like the funnel, they're the conduit. There we go. They're the conduit between the information and the person. Because you're right, it is about the audience and what they're absorbing. You're just the conduit of information that is presenting it for them to absorb. So it's really, I never feel like it's all about Kelly. I feel it's like all about them, and that they should leave there. They may or may not even remember my name, which is moot to me. I don't really care. But did they take something home that can improve their lives? That's what matters to me. Like some takeaway that was worth their time, however long the time period is, that improves their life and gives them empowerment versus victimization.
I think that's a wonderful word to leave off on. Just that sort of meeting people where they are and being that conduit of information is so important, especially as we're in this realm where we can't interact face to face as much. We have to be on screen or using this other thing. We just have to find ways of meeting people where they are and getting on the same level, however we have to go about that.
Whatever that is, right?
Kelly, this was a blast. I had a lot of fun chatting with you today. I have a lot of fun chatting with you every day. And everyone watching from home, you can join us tomorrow when we're back with our regular host. Let me check my notes. Oh, Kelly Baltzell.
I wonder if you know her.
I think I do. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.